The transport shuttle landed with a soft hum. The doors opened slowly. Cold air rushed inside. Una stood up from her seat and grabbed her old bag. It was small and worn. She had carried it since she was a child. She stepped out onto the station platform. The Galactic Unity Academy spread out before her like a small city. Tall buildings made of silver metal reached toward the stars. Lights of every color floated in the air. Strange plants grew in glass containers along the walkways. Everything looked clean and perfect. Una took a deep breath. The air tasted different here. It was too clean, too pure. She missed the smell of the sea back home in BUSAN. Other students walked past her. They were not human. Una had studied the different species before coming here, but seeing them in person was something else entirely. The Velish were the first she noticed. They were tall and thin, almost like walking glass. Their skin was pale and see-through. Una could see faint lights moving inside their bodies, like small stars floating in water. They moved gracefully, as if they were dancing rather than walking. Then there were the Kovani. They were huge. Each one stood at least 8 feet tall. Their bodies were covered in thick scales that shined like metal armor. Their eyes were yellow and sharp. Their hands ended in claws that looked strong enough to tear through steel. They walked with heavy steps that made the ground shake slightly. Other species passed by too. Some had 4 arms. Some had no eyes. Some floated instead of walking. The galaxy was full of life, and Una was just one small human among them all. The stairs began almost immediately. Whispers followed her as she walked toward the registration building. Una kept her face calm. She pretended not to notice, but she heard every word. "Is that a human? From Earth? The Death Planet? I thought they were bigger, more dangerous looking. She looked so weak, so small. How did she even get accepted here?" Una kept walking. Her footsteps were quiet on the metal floor. She had learned long ago that the best response to whispers was silence. The registration office was a large round room. Floating screens displayed information in dozens of languages. A line of new students waited to check in. Una joined the line and waited patiently. In front of her stood a young Velish girl. She kept glancing back at Una with wide, nervous eyes. Her skin flickered with pale blue light whenever she looked at the human. "Hello," Una said softly. The Velish girl jumped as if Una had shouted. "Hello," she stammered. You are human, yes?" "Yes, my name is Una. I'm Lyra." The Velish girl paused. She seemed to be gathering courage. "Is it true what they say about Earth?" "That depends on what they say. That your planet is dangerous. That everything there tries to kill you. That your sun burns your skin. That you hunt other creatures and eat their flesh." Una thought about this. "Some of that is true," she admitted. "Earth can be dangerous. But it is also beautiful. We have oceans and mountains and forests. We have music and art and stories. It is not just a planet of death. It is our home." Lyra nodded slowly. She seemed a little less afraid now. "I have never met a human before. You are the first one to attend this academy in 30 years. I know. I hope I can do my people proud." The line moved forward. Soon it was Una's turn at the registration desk. The official behind the desk was a Thelassian, a being with 4 arms and gray skin covered in tiny scales. He looked at Una with small, cold eyes. "Name?" he asked flatly. "Una, from Earth." The official typed something on his floating screen. His eyes narrowed. "Ah, yes. The human." He said the word like it tasted bad in his mouth. "You have been assigned to dormitory block 7, lowest level. Your roommate will be..." He checked the screen. A Velish student named Lyra. Lyra, who was still nearby, made a small sound of surprise. Your orientation begins tomorrow at first light, the official continued. The standard aptitude trials will take place in 3 days. Do not be late. Do not cause trouble. Do not... He paused, choosing his words carefully. Do not do anything that might confirm the galaxy's fears about your species. Yuna nodded politely. I understand. Thank you. She took her room assignment card and walked away. Lyra hurried after her. We are roommates, Lyra said. She sounded nervous about this. It seems so. I hope that is okay with you. I suppose it is fine. I have heard that humans do not eat other intelligent species. Is that true? Yuna smiled gently. Yes, we only eat animals. And plants. And sometimes things made from chemicals. But never people. Lyra relaxed a little. That is good to know. They walked together through the station toward the dormitories. Other students continued to stare and whisper. A group of Kavani cadets laughed loudly as Yuna passed. One of them, a massive male with bronze-colored scales, stepped into her path. So this is the human everyone is talking about, he said. His voice was deep like thunder. I expected something more impressive. Yuna looked up at him. The top of her head barely reached his chest. I'm sorry to disappoint you. You should not be here, little creature. This academy is for warriors and scholars, not for animals from death planets. I passed the entrance exams, Yuna said calmly. Same as everyone else. The Kavani laughed. Passing exams is easy. Surviving here is not. We will see how long you last, human. He walked away with his friends. Their laughter echoed down the corridor. Lyra touched Yuna's arm gently. Are you okay? Yuna nodded. I have faced worse than mean words. Come, let us find our room. It has been a long journey, and I am tired. That night, Lyra lay in her bed and watched her human roommate sleep. Yuna slept peacefully, breathing slowly and steadily. She seemed so calm, so unbothered by everything that had happened. Lyra did not sleep at all. She kept wondering what kind of creature could come from a planet of death and still smile so gently. Perhaps humans were more dangerous than they appeared, or perhaps they were something else entirely. 3 days passed quickly. Yuna spent her time learning the layout of the academy. She memorized the paths between buildings. She studied the class schedules. She watched the other students train and compete. And she ran. Every morning, before the lights came on, Yuna woke up and left the dormitory quietly. She ran through the empty corridors of the station. She ran past the training grounds and around the central plaza. She ran until her muscles felt warm and loose. Running was something humans did. It was in their blood. Long ago, before cities and technology, humans had survived by running. They chased animals across open plains for hours, sometimes days. The animals were faster, but humans did not stop. They kept going until their prey fell from exhaustion. This was called persistence hunting. Most species in the galaxy did not understand it. They thought running was for escaping danger, not for hunting. But humans were different. Humans were made to move. Lyra sometimes watched Yuna return from her morning runs. The human was never breathing hard. She never looked tired. She simply stretched her arms and legs, drank some water, and smiled. Do all humans run like you? Lyra asked one morning. Many do, Yuna replied. It is good for the body and the mind. You should try it sometime. Lyra looked at her thin, delicate legs. I do not think I am built for running. The morning of the standard aptitude trials arrived. All first-year students gathered in the main assessment hall. There were over 200 new cadets from dozens of different species. They stood in neat rows, waiting for instructions. Large holographic screens floated above the hall. They displayed the academy's records for each trial. The most impressive records glowed in gold letters at the top of each list. One record stood out above all others. The endurance circuit, set by Commander Vorath, the Undying. Time, 4 hours, 12 minutes. Unbroken for 500 years. Vorath was a legend among the Kovanni. He had been the greatest warrior of his generation. His statue stood in the central plaza, carved from black stone. Every Kovanni cadet dreamed of matching his achievements. The current minimum passing time for the endurance circuit was 8 hours. Most cadets finished in 10 to 12 hours. Some did not finish at all. Instructor Pella stepped onto the stage. She was a Thelassian with 4 arms and tired eyes. She had been teaching at the academy for over a century. "Listen carefully," she announced. "The standard aptitude trials will determine your class placement for the next 4 years. Those who perform well will receive better resources, better training, and better opportunities. Those who perform poorly will struggle. This is not meant to be cruel. It is simply the truth." She waved one of her arms. The holographic screens changed to show a map of the endurance circuit. The first trial is the endurance circuit. It will test your physical abilities, your mental strength, and your ability to adapt to changing conditions. The map showed a complex path through the station. There were gravity zones that changed from light to heavy. There were chambers filled with toxic air that required special masks. There were sections that played with the mind, creating fear and confusion. You will face 1.5 standard gravity in some areas and 0.5 gravity in others, Pella explained. Your bodies will be stressed. Your minds will be tested. Many of you will fail. This is expected. She looked at the crowd of cadets. Her eyes paused briefly on Yuna. The trial begins in 1 hour. Prepare yourselves. The cadets broke into groups. Some stretched their bodies. Some practiced breathing exercises. Some simply stood quietly and tried not to look scared. The Kavani cadet who had mocked Yuna earlier walked up to her. His name was Doha. He was even bigger than she remembered. "Ready to fail, human?" he asked. Yuna was tying her running shoes. They were old and worn, brought from Earth. "I am ready to try my best." Doha laughed. "Your best will not be enough. This course was designed for real warriors, not soft creatures from Deathworlds. I thought the whole point of being from a Deathworld was that we are not soft," Yuna said mildly. Doha's laugh stopped. He stared at her with something that might have been surprise. Then he snorted and walked away. Lyra appeared at Yuna's side. "You should not make him angry. The Kovanni have bad tempers." "I was not trying to make him angry. I was just being honest." The hour passed. The cadets lined up at the starting point of the endurance circuit. The entrance was a massive doorway that led into darkness. Strange sounds came from inside. The air felt wrong somehow, heavy and charged with energy. Yuna took her place in the middle of the group. She was the smallest person there. Even the Velish cadets were taller than her. Instructor Pella raised one of her arms. "The trial begins now. May your strength carry you through." A horn sounded. The cadets rushed forward into the darkness. The first section was a long corridor with shifting gravity. The floor tilted and spun. Some cadets stumbled immediately. Others tried to power through with raw strength. Many fell. Yuna did not run fast. She moved at a steady pace, reading the gravity changes before they happened. When the floor shifted left, she leaned right. When gravity increased, she lowered her body and kept her center balanced. She passed cadet after cadet. They were falling, vomiting, crying out in confusion. The gravity changes were too fast for most species to handle. But Yuna had grown up on Earth. Earth's gravity was 1.4 times the galactic standard. Her bones were dense. Her muscles were strong. Her body knew how to handle pressure. The second section was worse. Toxic air filled the chambers. Cadets fumbled with their breathing masks. Some masks failed. Some cadets panicked. Una pulled on her mask calmly. She had checked it 3 times before the trial began. She was ready. The smell inside the mask was bad. Ammonia and sulfur and something rotten. But Una had grown up near volcanic hot springs. She had smelled worse things while cooking with her grandmother, thus she kept moving forward. One step at a time, steady, patient. A live dot in the monitoring room above the circuit. Instructor Pella watched the screens with growing disbelief. "The human," she said softly. "Look at her vital signs." The technician beside her nodded. "Heart rate stable. Stress hormones minimal. She's not even struggling. That is impossible. The gravity zones alone should exhaust her." "Perhaps," the technician said slowly, "we underestimated what it means to come from a death world." On the screen, Una disappeared into the next chamber. She was still moving at the same steady pace. She had not slowed down once. She was not running away from something. She was running toward something, and nothing was going to stop her. 2 hours into the trial, only 40 cadets remained in the endurance circuit. The rest had collapsed, surrendered, or been carried out by medical teams. Doha was still running. His massive body pushed through every obstacle with pure force. His scales were covered in sweat. His breathing was heavy and rough. But he refused to stop. He was Carvani. Carvani did not quit. He looked behind him and saw the human girl. Una was still there. She was not gasping for air. She was not struggling. She moved like water flowing downhill, smooth and endless. How was this possible? Doha pushed harder. His legs burned. His lungs screamed for rest. He was one of the strongest cadets in his generation. He had trained for years to reach this level. And yet this small human female was keeping pace with him, as if she was taking a casual walk. The third section of the circuit began. This was the psychological chamber. The walls were covered in screens that showed each cadet their deepest fears. The room played sounds designed to cause panic. The temperature changed wildly from freezing cold to burning hot. Doha saw images of his family dying. He heard the sounds of battle and screaming. His heart raced. His hands shook. But he kept moving forward. He was a warrior. He would not be defeated by illusions. Una entered the same chamber moments later. The screens showed her images of darkness. Deep, endless darkness. The sound of something breathing in the shadows. Eyes watching from places she could not see. She paused for exactly 2 seconds. Then she closed her eyes and kept walking. The monitoring room was now full of instructors and officials. Word had spread about the human girl. Everyone wanted to see what would happen. Instructor Pella stood at the front, her forearms crossed over her chest. "What is she doing?" she asked. A senior technician checked his readings. "She appears to be ignoring the psychological triggers. That should not be possible. The system reads brain patterns and creates personalized fear responses. The system is working correctly," the technician replied. "Her brain is responding to the stimuli. She is experiencing fear, but she is choosing not to react to it." An old Corvani general stood in the corner of the room. His name was Voss. He had served in 100 battles across the galaxy. "Explain this to me," he demanded. "How does a creature from a primitive world resist our most advanced psychological warfare?" Another technician pulled up data on her screen. Humans have an unusual brain structure. They experience fear like any other species. But they also have strong connections between their emotional centers and their reasoning centers. They can feel terror and still choose to act calmly. "They evolved this ability?" Voss asked. "They had to. On Earth, showing fear to predators often meant death. Humans learned to control their reactions. They call it keeping calm under pressure. It is a survival trait. Voss stared at the screen showing Yuna walking steadily through the fear chamber. Remarkable, he muttered. And terrifying. The hours passed. More cadets dropped out. The circuit grew harder. The gravity sections became more extreme. The toxic chambers grew more dangerous. The psychological attacks became more intense. Yuna kept moving. She thought about her grandmother back home in Bizon. Her grandmother had survived wars and famines and earthquakes. She had raised a family through difficult times. She had taught Yuna that the secret to life was simple. Keep going. Fall 7 times, stand up 8. That was what grandmother always said. Yuna had fallen many times in her life. When her parents died in an accident, she had fallen. When she was rejected from the first school she applied to, she had fallen. When people told her that humans did not belong in space, she had fallen, but she always stood up again. And now, in the middle of an obstacle course designed to break the strongest warriors in the galaxy, she stood up again with every step. The final chamber was the worst. It combined all 3 challenges at once: shifting gravity, toxic air, psychological attacks, everything at maximum intensity. Only 5 cadets entered this chamber. Doha was among them. So was Yuna. Doha's body was failing. His muscles cramped. His vision blurred. Every breath felt like fire in his lungs. He had never been pushed this hard in his entire life. He looked at Yuna. She was still moving at that same steady pace. Her face was calm. Her breathing was controlled. "What are you?" he gasped. Yuna glanced at him as she passed. "I am human," she said simply. She did not slow down to explain further. She did not have time for conversation. She had a record to break. The exit appeared ahead. A bright doorway leading out of the darkness. Yuna could see officials and instructors gathered on the other side, watching with shocked expressions. She stepped through the doorway and stopped. A horn sounded. Lights flashed. The holographic scoreboard above the exit flickered and changed. Yuna looked up at the numbers. Time: 3 hours, 47 minutes, 22 seconds. Below her time, in smaller letters, another line appeared. Previous record: 4 hours, 12 minutes, 0 seconds. Holder: Commander Vorath, the Undying. Duration: 500 years. New record holder: Yuna. Species: human. Origin: Earth. The assembled crowd was completely silent. No one spoke. No one moved. They simply stared at the small human girl standing in the exit doorway. Instructor Pella found her voice first. That is not possible." Yuna stretched her arms above her head. She rolled her neck from side to side. She took a deep breath and let it out slowly. "Where do I go for the next test?" she asked. Her voice was calm. Her body was relaxed. Her forehead was dry. She had not broken a sweat. The silence continued. Then, slowly, a murmur began to spread through the crowd. It grew louder and louder until it filled the entire hall. Some voices were angry. Some were scared. Some were amazed. But all of them were asking the same question. What exactly had Earth sent to their academy? Doha stumbled out of the final chamber 2 hours later. He collapsed on the ground, his massive body shaking with exhaustion. When he looked up at the scoreboard and saw the new record, he did not know whether to laugh or cry. A human. A small human girl. She had beaten the greatest record in the Academy's history. She had beaten the legend of Commander Vorath, and she had made it look easy. Doha lay on the ground and stared at the ceiling. For the first time in his life, he understood what it felt like to be truly outclassed. It was not a pleasant feeling. But somewhere deep inside, a small spark of something else began to grow. Something that might have been respect, or maybe fear, or perhaps both. News traveled fast in the Galactic Unity Academy. By the time Yuna reached her dormitory room, everyone on the station knew what had happened. A human had broken the endurance circuit record, not just broken it, destroyed it, smashed it into pieces. The reactions came quickly and loudly. The Corvani were furious. They gathered in their dormitory block and shouted at each other. Commander Vorath was their greatest hero. His record was their pride, and now it belonged to a human. The test must have been rigged, one cadet declared. There is no other explanation. Perhaps the human cheated somehow, another suggested. Used drugs or hidden technology. We demand an investigation, shouted a third. Their anger spread like fire through dry grass. Soon, protests were happening outside the Academy Council building. Corvani cadets waved signs and chanted slogans. They wanted the record cancelled. They wanted the human expelled. The Velish reacted differently. They were not angry. They were terrified. Lyra sat in her dormitory room with several other Velish students. They spoke in hushed voices. If one human can do this, a student named Tova whispered, what can many humans do? Earth has billions of them, another student added. Billions. All living on that death world. They hunt other creatures by chasing them until they die from exhaustion. What kind of species does that? Monsters, Tova said firmly. Humans are monsters in small packages. Lyra listened quietly. She had spent 3 days living with Yuna. She had watched the human girl eat strange food and make gentle jokes and run every morning without complaint. Yuna did not seem like a monster, but the fear in her friend's eyes was real, and Lyra did not know how to calm them. The Academy Council held an emergency meeting. 12 senior officials from different species sat around a large table. Holographic screens displayed data, reports, and footage from the trial. The evidence is clear, Instructor Pella reported. There was no cheating, no equipment failure, no external assistance. The human completed the endurance circuit fairly. A Corvani Council member slammed his fist on the table. His name was General Voss. Then the course itself was flawed. The gravity settings were wrong. The psychological triggers did not function properly. All systems were tested before and after the trial. Pella replied calmly. Everything worked exactly as designed. Then how do you explain this? Voss demanded. A primitive creature from a quarantine planet beat our greatest record by nearly 30 minutes. How is that possible? Another council member spoke. She was a Velish elder named Sora. Her voice was soft but worried. Perhaps the question is not how it happened. Perhaps the question is what it means for the future. What do you suggest? Asked the council chairman. Earth was quarantined for a reason, Sora said. Humans are dangerous. They consume resources without limit. They fight wars among themselves constantly. Their planet is covered in weapons capable of destroying entire cities. She paused. And now we see that even their young females can outperform our best warriors. Should we not be concerned? The room fell silent. Everyone was thinking the same thing, but no one wanted to say it out loud. Finally, a voice spoke from the far end of the table. It belonged to an ancient being made of pure light. This was the Illumined, the Academy's dean, and one of the oldest creatures in the galaxy. Fear is understandable, the Illumined said. But fear should not guide our decisions. The human girl broke a record. She did not break a law. She competed fairly and won fairly. To punish her for this would be unjust. But the implications, General Voss began. The implications are that we have underestimated a species, the Illumined interrupted. This is not the first time in galactic history. It will not be the last. The solution is not to hide from what we have learned. The solution is to learn more. The meeting ended without a clear decision. Some council members wanted to restrict humans from future physical competitions. Others wanted to study humans more closely. A few suggested quietly that Earth should be quarantined again. Nothing was resolved. Yuna knew nothing about the meeting. She sat in the academy cafeteria, eating a bowl of food that tasted almost like rice. It was not quite right, but she was hungry and did not complain. Lyra sat across from her. The Velish girl was quieter than usual. "You have heard what people are saying," Yuna said. It was not a question. Lyra nodded slowly. "Some are angry. Some are scared. Everyone is talking about you. I did not mean to cause trouble. I just wanted to do my best." "Your best is very good," Lyra said. "Perhaps too good." Yuna put down her eating utensil. "Let me ask you something, Lyra. When you look at me, what do you see?" Lyra considered the question carefully. "I see a small human with dark hair and brown eyes. You smile often. You speak quietly. You run every morning." She paused. "And apparently, you are stronger than anyone realized. But do you see a monster?" Lyra's pale skin flickered with uncertain light. I do not know what I see anymore. My people have always been told that humans are dangerous. Deathworlders, predators. But you have been kind to me. You have not threatened anyone. You just ran a race. And that makes me scary? It makes you confusing." Yuna smiled sadly. "I understand. I truly do. On Earth, we have a long history of fearing things we do not understand. We have hurt each other because of those fears. I think that is something all species share." She reached across the table and gently touched Lyra's hand. The Velish girl tensed but did not pull away. "I am not your enemy," Yuna said softly. "I came here to learn and to prove that humans can be part of the galactic community. I did not come to conquer or to frighten anyone. I just came to show that we are not what you think we are." Lyra looked at the small human hand touching hers. It was warm. Surprisingly warm. "What are humans then?" she asked. "If not monsters, what are you?" Yuna thought about this for a long moment. "We are survivors," she said finally. "Our planet tried to kill us every day, and we survived. We survived ice and fire and storms and plagues. We survived each other. And through all of that, we learned something important." "What did you learn?" "That the only way to survive is to keep going. To fall down and stand back up. To face fear and move forward anyway. To never, ever give up." Yuna squeezed Lyra's hand gently. "That is what humans are. We are the ones who keep going." Heavy footsteps approached their table. Yuna looked up and saw Doa standing there. The massive Kavani looked exhausted. His scales were dull from stress. "Human?" he said. His voice was low and rough. "Yes?" "You beat me. You beat the record. You beat everything." He paused. "I do not know whether to hate you or respect you." Yuna gestured to the empty seat beside her. "Sit down. Eat something. We can figure that out together." Daha stared at her. Then, slowly, he sat down. It was the strangest moment Lyra had ever witnessed. A human, a Velish, and a Korvani, sitting together at a table in peace. Perhaps the galaxy was changing. Perhaps it was about time. 1 year passed at the Galactic Unity Academy. Yuna studied hard and trained harder. She learned about the history of 1,000 worlds. She studied diplomacy and combat and science. She made friends and earned respect. It was not easy. The anger and fear did not disappear overnight. Some cadets still refused to speak with her. Some instructors graded her more harshly than others. Some species still looked at her with suspicion in their eyes. But slowly, things began to change. Lyra became her closest friend. The Velish girl learned that humans were not the monsters her people feared. She learned that Yuna had hobbies and dreams and worries just like everyone else. She learned that humans could be kind and funny and loyal. She even tried running once. It did not go well. Her thin legs were not made for such activity. But Yuna cheered her on anyway, and Lyra laughed more that day than she had in months. Doha became her training partner. At first, he only wanted to find something he could beat her at. He challenged her to strength tests and fighting matches and every physical competition he could think of. He won the strength competitions. Yuna congratulated him sincerely each time, but when it came to endurance, to patience, to the ability to keep going when everything hurt, Yuna always won. How do you do it? Doha asked one evening after a particularly long training session. His muscles ached. His lungs burned. Yuna looked like she could keep going for another hour. My grandmother taught me, Yuna replied. She is much tougher than I am. Your grandmother is a warrior? No, she is a small old woman who makes excellent soup. But she has survived things that would break most people. She taught me that strength is not about muscles. It is about will. Doha thought about this for a long time. The anniversary of Yuna's arrival came quickly. The academy held its annual unity ceremony in the central plaza. Thousands of students and officials gathered around the statue of Commander Varth. Yuna noticed that someone had added a small plaque to the base of the statue. It showed the new endurance circuit record. Her name was carved into metal, right below the legendary warrior's dot. It felt strange. Wrong somehow. The ceremony began. The illumin floated above the crowd, its body glowing with soft golden light. 500 years ago, this academy was founded on a dream, the illumined announced. The dream of a galaxy united. The dream of species working together instead of fighting each other. The dream of peace through understanding. The crowd listened quietly. Even the Corvani were silent. This year, we have been reminded of that dream in an unexpected way. A human came to our academy. She was the first of her kind in 30 years. Many doubted her. Many feared her. Many wanted her to fail. The illumin's light grew brighter. But she did not fail. She succeeded beyond anything we imagined. And in doing so, she taught us something important about ourselves. The ancient being paused. We were afraid of her because she was different. We were afraid because her people are strong in ways we did not understand. But strength is not something to fear. Strength, properly used, is something to admire. The illumin turned toward Yuna, who stood among the crowd of students. The human delegation is small. One student, one representative of a world we long misunderstood. But she has shown us that our fears were based on ignorance, not truth. Lyra reached over and took Yuna's hand. On her other side, Doha placed a massive clawed hand on her shoulder. The touch was surprisingly gentle. Earth is no longer a quarantined world, the illumin declared. The probationary status is ended. Earth is now a full member of the galactic unity. And if this one human is any indication, we should be grateful that they have chosen to be our friends rather than our enemies. The crowd erupted in applause. Not everyone was enthusiastic. Some clapped slowly, reluctantly. Some did not clap at all. But most seemed genuinely moved. The ceremony ended. Students and officials returned to their daily routines. The statue of Varth stood silent in the plaza, watching over a changing galaxy. That night, Yuna stood alone on an observation deck. Through the transparent walls, she could see thousands of stars. Each one might have planets. Each planet might have life. The universe was so vast and she was so small. Her personal device buzzed. A message had arrived from Earth. She opened it and saw her grandmother's face. The old woman had wrinkles around her eyes from years of smiling. Her gray hair was tied back in a simple bun. I saw the news, grandmother said. Her voice was warm and steady. The whole world is talking about you. They say you broke an alien record that stood for 500 years. They say you made humans look strong. Grandmother paused. But I know the truth. You did not do this for fame or glory. You did it because you wanted to prove something. You wanted to show the galaxy that we are more than they think we are. And you succeeded. Tears formed in Yuna's eyes. I am proud of you, Grandmother continued. Your parents would be proud too. Remember what I always taught you. Fall 7 times. Stand up 8. That is the human way. That is our secret. Grandmother smiled. Come home safe when you are finished. I will make your favorite soup. I love you, little star. The message ended. Yuna stood alone with the stars. She thought about everything she had experienced this year. The fear and the anger. The challenges and the victories. The friends she had made and the walls she had broken down. She thought about Earth, about mountains and oceans and volcanic springs, about her grandmother's small house in Bizen, about the family she had lost, and the family she still had. She thought about the future, about a galaxy that was slowly learning to trust humans, about the work that still needed to be done, about the long road ahead, and she smiled. The galaxy was vast and strange and sometimes hostile, but she was human. Her ancestors had survived everything their planet could throw at them. They had endured ice ages and plagues and wars. They had conquered mountains and crossed oceans and reached for the stars. A little academy record? That was just the beginning. Yuna turned away from the window and walked back toward her dormitory. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new tests to pass, new minds to change. She would face them all with the same steady pace she had used in the endurance circuit, one step at a time, never stopping, never giving up. That was the human way, and the galaxy was finally beginning to understand.